Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of make something mean something, buy something, but don't own anything ever again, because this is the brave new world that we're entering. Physical gaming is officially dead. It's the one thing that I've liked my entire life, so I have nothing to look forward to anymore. And my name is Kevin Lieber, and with me, as always, is Matthew Tabor.
Uh, I don't know how to qualify how I feel right now because I was saying this just a minute or two ago as we were hanging out. This isn't my arena. Gaming is not my thing. I'm as casual can be over the years. Gaming's not for me. However, uh what you're experiencing today is something I've brought up several times in the last few months on the podcast. The loss of things that make life good and how that feels. That's something I've been obsessed over. Like truly, it's the number one concern in my life for probably 5 years now. 5 years. It's what I've thought about more than anything. So this topic is your pain, which is amazing to me. That's that's its own draw. An outsider view of the problem, but it's still relevant to things that I like. I'm excited, but I know it's like being excited for, like the family gathered around the bed as they pull the plug.
Oh,
You're like,
God.
oh, you
That's
shouldn't be
horrible.
excited for that,
You know,
right? It's awful.
that's-
So I'm very conflicted. Hopefully you can guide us through this topic because it's a problem.
oh, it's so horrible. It is so shocking to me. I just didn't think. I mean, the signs were on the wall. The writing was on the wall, to use the actual phrase, but I didn't actually believe it. Part of me stayed delusional that it was never going to come to this, even though, there were just like neon signs flashing that this is where we were heading. But just now, literally like 2 hours ago, Sony announced that beginning in 2028, which is not too far from now, they will
Mhm.
end production of physical games. So any new game coming out, I suppose in a year and a half from now's time, which is nothing, will not be printed on a disc, like will not be available on a disc, will not be available physically. It is 100% going to be digital download only from here on out with Sony. We sort of dipped our toe in these waters with Nintendo and their game key cards, which I
Yeah.
think I complained about on the podcast, maybe last year or so, when that was announced, which are essentially kind of the same thing. Like the game is really not on the cartridge. What you're buying is like a license to download it, essentially. There's no physical media on the actual little cartridge for these Game Key Switch 2 games. But there are still Switch 2 games that are the full game is on the cartridge, but it tends to be mostly the first party games, it seems, and then like some outliers and third party games. Anyway, a lot of people who are like Nintendo collectors have stopped buying for the Nintendo Switch 2, have stopped collecting, I should say, for the Nintendo Switch 2, simply due to the fact that it's kind of pointless to have a thing on your shelf that's just like a mirage. It's like an
A husk.
illusion. Yes, it's
An
like the
empty husk.
shell of a video game. It's like the idea. It's like the wisp, the echo of a
So
video
it's a
game.
representation of something that's fun elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah, but it's not actually there. Um, yeah, it's like a cicada husk in a bookshelf. But now Sony is just saying we're done completely. Like there's going to be no even facade of physical gaming. I suppose the facade actually will be what GTA 6 will be, which is a case with like a coupon with a code inside, code in a box, and you're paying, I suppose, to have an empty game case on your shelf.
I'm trying to understand all of this.
Good
So
luck.
feel free to keep rambling, right? Because, collecting is a huge, huge part of my life, to the point where it's dominant in a bad way, in terms of space, right? You can see, I don't know if I can move my chair. Look, you see, I've got some holes in the shelf. Sold some books. Sold some books. Um, no, I'm trying to pare down, but I obviously procuring stuff and revering it and assembling it into meaningful groups, whether it's meant to be a set, it's a sequential set, or it's something that I think is a set of sorts, right? All of this, in a preservation mindset, is extremely important to me. But the things I like to collect are very different, right? So I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand why they would bother at all with anything physical. Why wouldn't you just get an email with the code if it's going to be a code?
I think that's the direction we're heading. I do want to, Conrad in the chat mentioned that supposedly GTA 6 will just be code in the box at launch and there'll be a physical disc later. I have heard conflicting reports on this, so I don't think
Okay.
anybody knows. I have heard there'll definitely be a physical disc later, and then I have also heard there will not ever be a physical disc for GTA 6. And at this point, with Sony's announcement, a year and a half from now, they're not going to make any discs anymore. I'm leaning towards
Yeah.
there will not be a disc
So let's
because
let's
there won't
back
be
up.
discs for anything. They're gone.
Yeah.
There will be discs for no games.
Let's back up, and steel man this a little bit, right? Why is this happening? Is this a hardware issue where it's like optical drives are being phased out in the world? Nothing will have them, therefore we won't have discs, right? Like why is this happening?
Yeah, I would love so the very surface level why this is happening is that the majority of games are downloaded and not bought physically.
Yeah.
Like the strong majority. I think it's like 85% or something like that. Maybe even
Okay.
upwards of 90% of games are just bought digitally and downloaded. So that's what they're saying. It's like, well, if 9 out of 10 people are just going to download it, then we're not going to bother with all of this physical production and manufacturing and shipping logistics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I have never seen, and maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't, any sort of economic breakdown as to what the loss is. There has to be some kind of loss here, or else why would they do it? Like, what is the loss, supposedly, that you have to imagine Sony is taking by printing discs and by making consoles that read discs? There's got to be some sort of ledger line that's in the red, or else I don't understand why they would do it at all. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, if this was a moneymaker, they'd keep doing it, right? And so, well, this is part of the problem too, because if this was so important to gamers, they would be buying physical discs at a greater clip, and it would be a profitable enterprise. And this never happens. We don't have this conversation. Uh, so there's some responsibility on the consumer side here. I'm sorry to throw the gamers under the bus for this, but that's the reality. If you this is So the term for this is revealed preference, right? This is the economic term, revealed preference, and it's basically, you show what you actually value as opposed to saying what you actually value. Um, uh, well, the revealed preference here is for downloadable digital games. If it's 85% of all of them, the actual preference does not match up with how people, say they behave in the marketplace, right? So, well, what's Sony supposed to do? What are, they could what I don't understand is why they don't say, here's how it works, here's the breakdown. Almost everybody is going digital, but for the people who don't want to, we will offer this, and unfortunately that means it has to be this much money. Otherwise, we run in the red. I don't know why they wouldn't do both. That's why I thought of a hardware issue, because if they just want to get rid of optical drives entirely in all consoles, well, then you don't have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. It probably is at the console level, not at the game level. I don't see how it would make a difference to them to produce. It has to be so ridiculously cheap to make the physical discs and the cases. But like
Yeah,
for instance, on the PS5 Pro, which came out a couple of years ago, the default was digital only. They offered the option to buy a disc attachment. Okay. So if you were like me, a physical gaming nerd, and you have like an overwhelming preference for physical gaming and discs, they did allow you the option to buy a disc add-on, which I did.
yeah.
It seems to me that now that they're probably looking at PS6, which I'm sure they're pretty far in development into that next console, uh, they must be saying like, even giving them the option, even giving consumers the option of having an add-on is too much and not worth it for us, and we're just throwing our hands up. Because the thing that really is crazy to me, I'm sorry, about the 10 to 15% is 10 to 15% is still a lot. Like you
It's the
can't just
hardcores too.
you cannot it's the hardcores, it's the evangelicals of your
Yeah,
industry. It's like the most devout people with the gaming wall behind them on YouTube, and
it's
those are
it's
the
the
ones you're
10 juggalos.
snubbing.
It's the 10 juggalos. You know, what was the what's the name of the song? The Insane Clown Posse song I'm thinking of, where it starts with Jay just being like, I'd rather have like 10 juggalos than a million mainstream fans. You
I
know what I'm
don't
talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, I don't know the name.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a really important phenomenon, not to turn ICP into real philosophy, but it's completely accurate, to say that the small numbers really matter, and they drive a fair bit of behavior with the larger numbers, right? Like this is the legitimate concept of influencers, right? That term has been destroyed because it's like, oh, anybody with a following can be termed an influencer. No, virtually none of them influence anything at all, at all. But there are still influencers in the world, and I see this like in cards. So you like games, I like cards. Um, they're big, like important, knowledgeable people in the card industry, and what they say, people take cues from. They've earned that legitimacy, and that to me feels like a parallel to the sorts of people who are just getting kicked in the teeth today, like literally today by Sony, where it's like you have you have just yanked the rug out from under the true real gamers. That seems unwise.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I would
mean,
I would agree with that. It's like the Johnny Millenniums, the happy console gamers
yeah,
of the
yeah.
world. Like I can't even imagine how many games he has sold by evangelizing them. it has to be untold thousands and thousands of games that he has directly sold as a result of his YouTube channel and his videos and just being hyped about a thing. Just him. And then you add in all of the other people on YouTube and Twitch and everything. Like, this is not an insignificant these are your salesmen. These are like the foot soldiers of your industry.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking how I run downstream of anybody like this. I actually don't in collecting because I have a very individually defined sense of collecting. I cannot think of one time where I saw somebody even show how something is cool, let alone say, like, I think this is cool, therefore you should think it's cool. And then I did. So that doesn't, I'm completely independent on collecting. However, I am a downstream weenie on some other things. And I think I've mentioned Chicanic. She runs a small gas engine repair YouTube channel. It's quite big, quite large. Well, she's made videos about how aftermarket parts by a company called HIPAA, um, HIPA, like carburetors and things like that, are actually really good. And she says this is a much cheaper solution in my repair shop. I use these now because they're just as good as the OEM parts. And I was like, okay, I take that seriously. And I started getting some HIPAA products myself. And you know what? They're just as good as the twice as expensive real thing. So I got influenced on carburetors. Okay. This guy Gavin, who has a channel called Ultimate Reloader, that's the same. He does product reviews, demonstrations, explanations. I take what he says seriously, and uh, it's been really useful. Project Farm, his whole channel is this kind of thing. He'll run a test like Rain-X that makes the water bead on your windshield.
Yep.
There are a lot of companies that make these products, and he'll do like, here's 10 of them compared, and run like a 20-minute test under all conditions and rate every. Yeah. So like, I am influenced by what those people do, and this is who's getting smoked here on gaming, is the people in those roles, but in gaming, who love the physical stuff. It means something for them to have it be more than an icon on a desktop if they're a PC gamer, more than a start screen if they're console. And they've just had it taken away. They've had it taken away. And that's a strange thing, because it wasn't taken away because we ran out of some natural resource that provided it. It didn't dry up. It is removed.
Yeah, it is removed. And I have seen people, or of course, there's always going to be people who are like, well, actually, apparently most people only download games. So I'm sure maybe it is 85% of people are like, this doesn't bother me at all. Like, I don't even care why you would want a physical disc. Like, why are you upset about that? Allow me to explain a few reasons as to why this is a problem
Yes.
for the industry and for consumers in general. Okay. Number one is, now there's no aftermarket. So you cannot purchase a game, beat it, and then sell it. There's no way to do that. You cannot transfer ownership. Well, you can't transfer ownership of a thing you do not own by default.
You lease it.
You cannot, sign over the lease of Resident Evil 9 to someone halfway across the country. So there's that, which is that's a huge blow to me, like, because that's something, especially when I was younger, and didn't have the kind of disposable income that I have now. I would buy a game, I would play it, and then I would sell it so that I had money to buy another game. Like this was
Mhm.
the feedback loop during like the PS2, my PS2 GameCube kind of days, was buy, play, resell, buy, play, resell. Well, that's gone. The other thing is when it comes to the difference in terms of the marketplace itself, is that you the Sony, on PSN on the store, it's so much more expensive because they set the price to download a game than it is to buy a physical game, which like has totally different like market influences. Because if you have a whole bunch of physical games like sitting on a shelf in a warehouse somewhere, it is your duty to unload those. So you will mark them down in order to get rid of those. So if like a game isn't doing too well, you'll see it go on sale pretty early on, lots of times. That maybe for the first month it was a full price $60 or $70 game, and then 3 months later it's down to like $40, and then 6 months after that it's down to $30. That's not going to happen and cannot happen, and there's no incentive for that to happen with a download because there's no shelf space being taken up by the
Yeah.
file. It's just on a server somewhere. And Amazon and GameStop and like mom and pop retailers, whomever it is, Best Buy, they have no incentive to mark down a game. So you'll never get a game on sale uh, th- the way that you can today, 2 years from now.
This is super interesting to me, the way the prices work and why. Uh, there it actually has very big parallels, right? Um, so the logistics are nightmarish. You, in particular, work in a produce an item, sell and ship that item business with the Curiosity Box. You know how hard it is to figure out how many of these do we make, on what timeline, where are they going to be stored, how do they get together, then shipping them all out, dealing with all the problems from shipping, some of which are the actual shipping side, some of which are on the consumer side. It's really a nightmarish thing.
Dealing with breakage, dealing with
Yeah.
replacements, and dealing with you cannot have crazy warehousing fees and pick and
Yeah.
pack fees of product that's just sitting on a shelf somewhere because it will bleed your company dry.
Yeah. If you make a mistake on that stuff, it's game over.
You see
It's
this
game
on
over.
Shark Tank when they're like, where'd all your money go? And they're like, oh, I have $800,000 in inventory. And they're like,
Yeah.
you're out of business, actually. Like, you have to fire sale that stuff and start over. You can't
Yeah.
have all this inventory.
So the consumer determines the price in the end. It's a question of how long it takes, right? And so you make a game, it's $60. It's not very popular. People don't want to pay 60. The retailer responds by dropping it to 50 to 40. Maybe the consumers then decide to buy it. Um, Sorry, I had a phone call that suspicious. Yeah, there's this back and forth feedback loop where in the end, the thing gets priced at the sweet spot between the person selling it and what the consumer is willing to pay for it. That's how it works itself out over time. Well, if you take that if you take that out, well then the producer here, like the Sony, becomes the retailer, and they just algorithmically adjust this price based on uh, people buying it. There's not a long timeline of sorting that out, and so somebody, yeah, Make an Industry says, what about the 70%, clicking this show on stream, what about 70% sales Steam has? Yeah, this is, they can do that instantly. So in theory, we'd get to the best price much faster this way, because you don't have to deal with the warehousing, the shipping, the whatever, that long big process to find that equilibrium.
But I would like to ask the chat if anybody knows how Steam works, because I don't. I'm not a PC gamer. Do the developers Are the developers able to set their own prices on Steam? Because that would matter to this discussion. And are developers allowed to set their own prices on PlayStation Network and the PlayStation Store? I don't know the answer to that, but that could be a reason why sometimes you can get a game for $2.50 on Steam,
Right.
is that the developer would be able to set their own price and do their own sale, flash sale or whatever. Um, and I never see discounts like that on the PlayStation Store.
Uh, yeah, I've looked through, but there's nothing super significant on the PlayStation Store. The prices, like the sales and stuff they have not made me buy a game. Whereas on Steam, I'll get an email that's like, "Oh, this thing on your wish list is like 32 cents now." I'm like,
Charles
"God
Kahn says
damn,
that
yeah."
the devs set the prices
Okay, okay.
on Steam.
Uh, it is a positive going digital that we can hit the right price much faster, in theory, than having the physical copies of things. Uh, I'm trying really hard to come up with arguments that are good
But my
here.
my argument right now with this, with Sony in particular, not with Steam,
Yeah.
is that as far as I could tell, for however many years there's been a PlayStation Store, you could look at what a game is going for on like Amazon, and it'll be like $40, and it'll be like $60 on to download it
Mm.
routinely. Like that's what I saw a tweet this morning that was comparing the two. It was like, okay, I could get this game for $29.99 right now on Amazon, but it's $69.99 to download it. That's a huge problem. There's no competition for them in that case. Like they are, a monopoly.
Yeah, I actually don't have so much of a problem with monopolies when the service is really good, when it's fantastic. The fact that one place is doing all the business uh, doesn't doesn't really matter to me. It does matter if they are unethically crushing competitors and this and that. That's a different topic to me. But like, there's you know it, there's one grocery store in my town, a town you probably know, Kevin. There's one that has a monopoly on groceries uh, for the town in an effective way. Is that a crime? Is that a horrible thing? Like, no, somebody else could open up a store if they wanted to. I'm not picketing them because they're the biggest and the only one that's close by. Like, you can do something about this. Well, Sony's in an interesting place here with the licenses, and if they're making it so they have to be the only game in town, it seems like gamers are going to have to decide whether that's the game they're going to play, right? Or you just say, you know what, at least Steam is a real marketplace. I'm gonna switch to the new Steam console, and just it's the end of Sony
Well,
for me. It's the end of
yeah, if
PlayStation.
it's all digital, then just choose the best place to do all digital, and that would almost certainly be Steam,
Yeah,
outside of like the extremely rare and increasingly more rare Sony exclusive.
yeah. And you mentioned, what is the state of Xbox right now?
They seem to be going out of business. It's not good at all. They're shuttering a whole bunch of studios. They're laying off a lot of people. There's a bit of of a fire sale of like whole studios that they once owned that they're just trying to dump. Who knows? It is very, very bleak for. It's very, very bleak for Xbox. This Sony thing is just a total catastrophe as far as I'm concerned for hardcore, like millennial probably gamers who grew up with physical editions of games and prefer it that way. Um, and then yeah, Nintendo did a similar thing with their GameCube cards last year that has like upset a whole bunch of the market as well. So and the other thing is like memory is so expensive now. So like Steam did launch that prices for their new
Mhm.
console, and it's insanely expensive. The file sizes of downloading the games are ever expanding, so you're going to
Yeah.
fill up your hard drive after downloading like 4 games.
4 games, yeah.
Like all of this is awful, like obviously terrible. I don't know how there's an argument otherwise.
I
It
feel
just
like
sucks.
I feel like gamers are being forced into some really hard choices. And like Sony has kind of thrown down the gauntlet here, where it's like, look, you're officially going to be a digital gamer, or you're going to play NES carts for the rest of your life, which is like,
Yeah.
which way, gamer man?
Right. Yeah, well, moving forward. So here's another huge problem to me, that is backwards compatibility.
Mm,
If you were a physical gamer all your life, like I am, like I own very few digital games. What and the new console, let's say the PS6 comes out with no disk drive, then I have lots and lots and lots of PS4 and PS5 games that certainly can't play on the PS6, which kills the concept of backwards compatibility.
you
Uh,
need to explain something to me, because this really pissed me off with the occasional gaming. I like simple games, right? Most of the games that I like, I have a ball with unsophisticated games. Okay. And I thought, this is great. I'm going to boot up the PS4. I'm going to go to the PlayStation store. There are all sorts of PS1, 2, and 3 games that I would have a ball with, because I don't need, the most realistic, exceptional graphics. Like, no, no, no. I like unsophisticated games. I can't get them. You can't go on the PlayStation store and download like a good PS2 title. I I don't know why. Can you tell me why I can't digitally play an old game?
well, I mean, they have rolled out. They have like as part of their stupid subscription. Like one of the tiers is like this is what Nintendo does too, and this also just drives me crazy. Is that they're locking the old games behind a subscription,
Right.
so that
I saw that.
you can't buy them. So you can't even buy them digitally. You can't buy them digitally either. You have to have like a rolling subscription to some
Mhm.
stupid service that will like allow you the privilege of playing those older games. It's a small subset of games that are even available compared to what the full library is. It's like a tiny portion. But even those are essentially like gate kept behind a subscription, and you
Yeah,
can't
it's
even buy them digitally.
the PlayStation Plus premium tier is is the one that unlocks PS3 games, and it's $20 a month. I have way too many subscriptions from streaming platforms and stuff like that. I don't play enough console, you know, games to justify throwing another $20 a month to Sony to unlock the PS3 library. Um, that's a lot. That's a lot. Like where it's, do I have PS3 games, or $20 a month is like the entire Hulu, Disney, ESPN bundle.
Well, and
Like
for that price, you could buy a refurbished PS3, a handful of the games that you want, and own
sure,
them.
yeah, yeah. I see. I send you pictures of this stuff a lot. Tell you about it. Like when there's a box of old games at an auction. And it's you see the Xbox 360 games and PS2 through 4. Uh, it would be cool to get those and look at some of the old stuff. But I also don't want to have a giant stack of consoles that I virtually never play. So I really like the idea of, well, I've got this one console, I have access to all this old stuff, but I don't have access to the old stuff. And I just do not understand the gatekeeping on that level. If they made it half the price, $20 is the bonkers thing to me. If it was like $7.99 or something,
Right. Yeah,
then
$20
I
is
do it.
so expensive. I know.
That's a lot.
I know. I know. Well, the crazy thing in general to me about this topic is that like my default sympathies on these types of subjects is usually with the business because I know how hard it is to run a business. It is
Yeah.
insanely hard to run a business. And so many of the decisions that you have to make as a business owner are painful, are going to be painful for some portion of your consumers. But like ultimately, you have to make some of these tough decisions in order to stay in business, in order to continue to employ thousands of people, et cetera, et cetera. I am not at all sympathetic to Sony on this. Like not even a little bit. I'm so all of it sucks. And they have like objectively made so many horrible decisions. And so has Xbox, so has Microsoft. But Sony has flushed, straight up flushed hundreds of millions of dollars. Like this is not me, being like, oh, Concord wasn't for me. It's like Concord wasn't for anyone. They set hundreds of millions of dollars on fire with this game called Concord that was available to play for like I don't know 48 hours before they pulled the plug on that because it was just an absolute titanic sinking amount of money that they lost. And they've done this with several projects. There was like a God of War MMORPG or
Mm.
something that they flushed down the toilet. There are all these like live service games that are like Sony is for some reason this generation they've barely put out any first party games. First of all, like there's the joke of like the PS5 having no games. That's a meme.
Yeah.
That meme exists for a reason. They've put out like 4 exclusive games basically the whole
Oh, it's that
generation.
few. I thought it was like 2 dozen.
That's an
E- e-
exaggeration, but
Even even a couple dozen is ridiculous.
it's not that far off. Um, so because they've spent all of this money that they've wasted on these live service games that they're obsessed with, I think for the same reasons as all of this is that they are like laser focused on like this recurring revenue, these subscription models. Like that's what they like about the Fortnites
Yeah.
of the world is like it's a forever game. Once people
Yeah.
get hooked into it, then they'll play it forever, and that's like really where the money is.
Warcraft was a near forever game for me. I mean, I don't know how many years I played, but uh maybe 8 or 9. Yeah, that's a lot of money, and it was, I don't know, 13, 14 a month. It was awesome. It was the only game I played. So like my overall gaming costs, like my per hour was really good on playing Warcraft. It was fantastic entertainment. Um, but they made good money off of me. So I get the idea, but it doesn't seem like people like gamers behave the same way now. You know,
Things have changed a lot. I mean, I had heard a thing. So, first of all, a lot of the console gaming people are like our age.
Yeah,
It's like an older
yeah.
hobby now.
I see that on Twitter that there's nobody who's like 21 and into console games that pops on my timeline.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they exist. I think it's just to a much smaller degree. Um, the proportions aren't there. I mean, I've read polls about things like the Final Fantasy VII remakes and stuff, and it's like everyone is over 35 that are like playing these games. So there's that. There's also, I've read about changing behaviors in like MMORPGs where like the younger generation find it to be too much work. Like they don't care, first of all, for like the social element of those types of like the wows of the world in
Okay.
yesteryear, and like whatever the modern sort of equivalents are, Final Fantasy 14 or whatever. um they're uncomfortable with like the social element of those games. It's a huge part of why you would play that game, is like you're hanging
Yeah.
out with your online friends in this world.
Yeah.
A lot of like that part doesn't appeal to a lot of people now. And then it's a lot of work actually to like grind up your levels and to like get the cool equipment and skins and abilities or whatever it is. It's not a quick fix sort of dopamine hit. It's like a slow burn kind of, I'm going to log on every night for 2 hours and collect weeds to sell them at some auction house.
That,
Like,
that, that's what I like the most. That's what I like the most.
yeah.
I mean, this is, I was talking to my brother about this a few weeks ago, that the thing I liked the most in Warcraft was the economy and the auction house. And I spent much, much more time buying and selling in the auction house than playing the actual game.
Which is
And
so nerdy. It's like,
yeah,
it's so funny.
but but then I stopped doing it in Warcraft and just did that actual same thing in real life.
Yeah, right,
And have for
right.
like 10 years.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, why am I paying a subscription to
yeah.
be a gnome jumping in the auction house, buying and selling copper bars when I can
I
sit in
can
a chair,
become a
eat a hot
gnome.
dog? I
Yeah,
can
I'll
become
just
a gnome.
be a gnome.
Yeah, yeah. But I did it without even realizing it. And there was a point at which I was like, oh, yeah, I actually, this is a thing that I like, whether it's fake or real. Um, by the way, if anybody listening, anybody in the chat doesn't know, we have this new superpower now to display comments on screen, comments from the chat. It's awesome, and I'm slowly getting used to reading them and clicking the thing to display. I just popped up one from oh oh you've got to have screen names that are easy to pronounce. Uh, Help me on this, Kevin.
Which one?
Tupatror Jag. Very
Yeah.
difficult. Very difficult. Sony is heating their house by burning dollar bills, and now they isolated the attic to save cash. And it does feel like that in a way where I don't know what I don't know what the next step is for Sony. It's not clear to me, and I feel like they're saying consoles are over in the same way. Uh, like the way what is it, the Steam box? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
That's really just a computer. That's a little game computer.
I know, but this was Microsoft's idea years ago, and Microsoft is now imploding. So that hasn't worked. I mean, like being able to have your own niche as like a console that's its own thing is powerful. And once you start spreading out into like, well, it's actually a computer, it's like, okay, well, then it's not the thing that it was anymore. Maybe I don't need that.
But if all the makers decide to quit making consoles, then you don't have a choice.
Well, I mean,
You're a little gaming
Nintendo
computer
is
player
not
now.
going to. I think the Nintendo will always make, that's their whole business. They don't make computers. They do make
Right.
consoles. So I would love to better understand the economics behind this decision. Because
Mhm.
from my completely apparently outlier perspective and insignificant to their bottom line perspective, I have bought so many games because they physically exist that I absolutely will not buy digitally in the future for a couple of reasons. And again, apparently Sony doesn't care about this. It doesn't matter to their bottom line. But there are a lot of games I bought twice, first of all. So they started doing this thing a few years ago where if you paid extra money and you bought like this digital deluxe edition, you would get to play the game 3 days early. You would get access three
Yeah,
days early
I've
before
seen
it
a few of
landed on
those.
store shelves. Um, and I did this for several games that I was just like covered in boils and rashes, itching and freaking out, needing to play. I would spend the $80 or whatever it was to pay to play it 3 days early. But then, because I also like having a physical copy of a game, down the road would buy a physical version as well. So I would spend $80 on this digital thing to play it early, and then I would spend, on sale, let's say $30 or something.
Yeah.
So, that's $120 or $110 um, for one game because there was like a redundancy sort of built in. I've done that with a bunch of games. The other thing is there are also a bunch of games that maybe if they do this Steam style where there are like heavy discounts. I don't know though. I don't know because I wouldn't want to fill up my hard drive. There's a big difference to me between like, oh, this game is finally on sale for only $20. Okay. I'm going to grab it so that I have it. And I'm not going to play it today. I'm not going to play it tomorrow. I might not play it until like 2 years from now, but I own it and it's on my shelf. And I know that if I get the desire at some point to pop this in, I can do that. And if I pop it in and I don't love it, I play it for like a couple hours. And I'm like, this kind of stinks. I didn't pay a whole bunch of money for it. It was, I got it on when
You
it
got it on
was as
sale.
cheap as it was going to be, essentially.
And then
And
you can get a few bucks more back, or a few bucks back if you
if
decide
I
to sell it.
really don't like it, then I could just sell it. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Um, there's also so I don't collect. I stopped collecting a few years ago because I actually acquired all of the games that I wanted. I just finished my collection. Like I collected everything I wanted to collect, so there was nothing to collect anymore. I didn't then start being like, "Oh, I'm going to start collecting the greatest hits versions of PS1 titles," like which some people do. Like they
Yeah.
finish
Yeah.
one collection, so then they just start something else to constantly have an obsession. I didn't do that. Like I kind of just am like, I'm done. But it was really fun while I was doing it. I mean, this is what you do all the time now. It is really fun to be like, "Oh, I'd really like to get this game, but I only want to pay this much for it. Maybe I could find a copy. Oh, is it complete or is it not?" Like that whole element of it. Um, it just is going to end. There'll be like a demarcation point now where people will be able to have collect collected games between, I don't know, the Odyssey and the PS5, and then there's a line in the sand drawn. So I don't actually know what will happen to that market because will people growing up digital only have no interest in physical games because it's foreign to them? Or does it create like such a weird scarcity um, that everything that becomes a lot more valuable? I don't know.
We've seen this happen. The cool thing is we have seen this play out over 25 years. A little more than 25. Not quite 30. We've seen it with music. With the MP3 changed everything. The MP3 changed everything. Where you didn't need discs to listen to anything. YouTube went beyond the MP3. I haven't the only physical music I buy. It's been a long time. I bought 5 records new. There's a sale on a retailer where I got some really exceptional discs. One was the soundtrack to The Fly. The disc itself is amazing, right? The soundtrack to Rudy, the football movie.
Yeah, it's so random.
Well, it's a great soundtrack, and the song when he finally gets in the game is exceptional. If you haven't heard that being blasted in your living room, your own living in your own home, then you got a bucket list item. But yeah, I mean, I don't. If I want to hear a song now, um, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Uh, so I like thinking about songs, right? Like analyzing songs, which is why I had that incident on the airplane.
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, yeah. Well, the one that I've been listening to a lot lately, um, is it's a Miley Cyrus song.
You
It's a
also
Miley.
admittedly listen to like the same 53 songs, though. You're not like a music collector.
I have a lot of vinyl, and I used to listen to vinyl constantly. Constantly. I mean, my favorite thing when I was, like in school, was to listen to vinyl and then play play the guitar along as I listened when I could to learn how to play songs. Sometimes just do the chords, whatever. I
This was
love
this
that.
was in 1963.
uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, what I liked about it is that I could pick up the needle and drop it at the point in the song to replay a part over
I'm
and
just
over.
saying my dad has the same story. This is like so
He would, wouldn't he?
that's his
Yeah,
generation. That's what they did. Yeah, like wear out the record listening to it over
yeah.
and over again
I-
to learn the Led Zeppelin song or whatever.
In the '90s, records at garage sales were 10 cents a piece, occasionally 25 cents a piece. And I liked all music from the '70s and '80s, so I could just go by. It made a lot of sense. Anyway, like the Miley Cyrus song "Flowers" that was really popular a few years ago. This is a fantastically interesting song on a lot of different levels. Would I would I load that up on YouTube and play it and think about it over and over if I had to pay? No, I wouldn't even drop $1 to buy that song. But we've seen physical media go to digital, go to streamed digital, not even downloadable digital. And we saw a resurgence in purchasing vinyl. More people buy vinyl now than any other physical form of music. Years ago, vinyl sales surpassed discs, despite them being less convenient and whatever. So we've seen an entertainment medium go through physical stages, just like consoles have, then become digital, and then become, real time streamed at no cost, or a baked in really low cost like YouTube Premium, where I'm not even getting ads. YouTube Music, whatever. Maria says Flowers is amazing. It is, and let me tell you this. No, no. Rather than tell you, Maria, I want to know your opinion on this. Uh, what is more tragic in the song Flowers? That the girl seems to have been treated badly in her relationship, or that she thinks buying herself, she can buy herself flowers She can write her own name in the sand, etc., is the important parts of the relationship. It's a very complex song when you think about where the real tragedy is. You should listen to it, Kevin. It's fantastic. Very, very good. You're shaking.
No,
You're upset.
I literally blacked out and was waiting for you to stop explaining a Miley Cyrus song so we could talk about something interesting again.
Oh my god. Um, yeah. So we've seen this happen, and people responded. Right, the people who liked discs, physical media, the experience of vinyl rose up and showed that they meant it by actually buying the things. 10 years ago, could you get vinyl? Like, yeah, but it was boring. Then it was like, let's make really good, heavy discs, like beyond 180 gram. You actually, why am I talking here? You've done this. You have made vinyl with Jake Chudnow stuff.
Yeah, I know that is popular, but there's no gatekeeper for vinyl. Like anyone can make a turntable, anybody can make a record. And so you can find a niche market of people because the
Mm.
barrier to entry is wide open. And you can be a small business and be like, yeah, we're just going to make, video game soundtrack vinyls and you can potentially make it. With this video game stuff, if the console itself has no disk drive, if they make it impossible to have a physical part of the experience, it's game over. Pun intended. There's no like niche, boutique physical gaming companies who are going to allow you to have discs again. It's done.
Do you think there's any opportunity for a company to make a new physical console to fill the gap here?
It's so insanely expensive. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I mean, this is I, it just might not matter. Like if Sony's saying that the market is so small that it's not worth it, then maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Like this, so that we have had companies just print discs pop up all over the place. Limited run games is one. Super rare games is another. There's a company called VGP, Video Games Plus, I think, which is what they'll do is they'll print physical versions of games that you can't, that either don't have, that were digital only, like indie games, or they'll bring back remasters or something and print them out digitally. And those businesses seem to be doing well, but those businesses can exist in a future where you can install them on a console. So I would imagine that those businesses are freaking out because there's like a pretty clear like end of the road for them, because like how long is putting games on PS4 going to be viable?
I'm The comments are so good on this. I hadn't thought about Making Industries says the experience of watching an analog DJ with all the equipment and the physical media was like watching a mad scientist from an old movie. Um, that's an interesting thing. This is something that we talked a lot about with, you spent a week in Vienna with one of uh, the world's great analog philosophers, and what it means to see and feel and smell, what that actually entails, um, and what happens when you lose all of that stuff. What do you feel like is being lost experientially, not just collecting, but is there any experiential element that's lost with a switch to digital on this?
Uh, I personally think there's a meaningfulness that's completely lost. There's like um, there's a relationship to the media that you just don't have when it's. I mean, it's not even like you're gonna be able to, like if you have a digital library on your PS6 or whatever, where you can like look at your games, and obviously you can't have them all on there because you'd have to. There's no space to allow that, but you could, I guess, could scroll through thumbnails of them. I mean, at that point, what's special about that that's any different than scrolling through Netflix? Like, this is a brain
Yeah,
rot.
that's the same.
That is a brain rot activity, as opposed to like, so years ago, I did this Vsauce 2 video about collecting. And there was a quote that I included that I always loved. And I think about a lot when it comes to collecting, from Umberto Eco, who was a book hoarder. Okay. Like, let's not call him a collector. Like, this dude
Didn't he
had,
have like 45,000 books?
yes, tens
Yeah.
of thousands of books, just a lot of books. Um, I don't know. To me, at some point, like the line between collector and like hoarder is like, if you know what you have to a reasonable degree, you can still call yourself a collector. If it's just things, you don't even know what it is. I don't know. That line starts to break down, I think, for me. Anyway, Umberto Eco talked about mana. Like, there is
Mm.
this sort of intangible mana that is imbued within you when he is surrounded by all of his books. There is like a literal physical reaction that he has, of whether it's joy or satisfaction or contentment. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's a positive one for him to just be surrounded by objects that he likes. I mean, that's the idea of what mana is. Like, people use the term mana now in like a D&D sense, where
Right.
it's like, the health pool for your magic. But the word mana actually has to do with kind of like an intangible spirit. I guess a spirit
It,
is
it's sort of a life
intangible.
force, isn't it?
It is like a life force. Yeah, that is, you kind of attribute to otherwise like inanimate objects. So it's like your childhood teddy bear has a certain mana that,
Yeah.
like, Build-A-Bear number 98,000 at the mall. Well, the malls don't exist anymore, but you know what I mean? Like, does not have. Like, you can
Yeah.
go to a warehouse of teddy bears that have no mana, but you could go to your bedroom and your childhood teddy bear is like imbued with mana. And if you lost that or it was destroyed, you would be very upset. That's what that means. That's what it has to do with.
And this
How
matters, right?
how do you have mana with a digital download? You don't. I'm sorry. How could that possibly be the case? How
You
could you have
don't.
any sort of attachment and meaning to a thumbnail on a screen?
It changes things in the same way that reprints of collectible cards, whether it's sports or Pokemon, uh, do not do not have the same meaning, and uh, they don't make the same feelings happen at all. This is a really interesting and odd thing in collecting, right? It is to what degree this is legitimate. If I give you a reprinted card and you don't don't know it, you never know it, you will have the exact feeling as if it were real. You'd have the same mana would be emanating from this thing into your soul, right? Because you didn't know. The moment you find out, all of that changes. It, there are a lot of cards that are inaccessible in the world, financially inaccessible, uh, and also they may be so rare that only a handful of people can ever own them. There just aren't enough to go around, right? Uh, why wouldn't a reprint? Why wouldn't it suffice? It's the same aesthetically. It can be made now. It can be made identical aesthetically. This is a real problem in collecting, obviously. And why authentication has become such a big deal. And even the authenticated versions are now faked with alarming frequency. people can make PSA slabs that are identical. They all have serial numbers on them, right? And so verify the numbers on slabs before paying any amount of money for them. You can go and check, right? It, but what's the difference, right? And you're basically deciding, I want to pay 20, 50, 200, 2,000, $200,000 for the mana, because it's not the aesthetics. You can get the aesthetics for $5.
Or the first edition of a book.
The first edition of a book. Yeah,
It's
it's the same book.
It's the same book. You could buy, Lord of the Rings for $9, mass paperback, or a first edition would be, I don't even know how much a first edition of like Fellowship of the Ring or something.
It depends on the printing.
Right.
So like, I collect James Fenimore Cooper books. I have a lot. I don't know if I have any American first editions, because they're just way out of my price range. I have a French first edition. But yeah, so like the word here is fungible. Fungible is a really important concept. It's essentially interchangeability. Okay. When you buy cereal at the grocery store, what's your favorite cereal, Kevin?
That's a tough one. Yeah, I actually quite like Life cereal. I've eaten a lot of Life in
Life cereal's good, isn't it?
my time. Yeah, because it's
really
sugary, but it's like not total candy. It straddles the
guilt.
line between sweet and also tasting like real food.
Mikey likes it and Kevin likes it.
I do like
So
it.
all the boxes of Life on the shelf are fungible. It doesn't matter which one you take. Provided there's no like severe damage. If one is like oozing green goo, then yes, it's not the same. But all of those are fungible. Physical games, there's some variability. It is the same game, or books as well, right? It's the same book, right? But there are elements that are not the same, whether it's the condition of the disc on a game, whether it's the edition of the book or the condition of the book. Reducing it to the pure fungible stuff eliminates a lot of what's important to people. Now, it's important to us because we developed a relationship and found meaning in those elements. If you're 5 right now and you grow up in a world with no physical discs, you will never develop that relationship. There's a good chance you won't with those items, and so it won't matter to you at all. This is very complex because we're talking about something that is a totally synthetic, man-made thing. The attachment to physical games. This is not something that exists in nature, right? You were deciding, or have decided over the years, that it matters to have this in your hand. This comes up with ebooks all the time. I actually, despite having a lot of books, this is only a tiny portion of what I have. And they're good books too. You notice I don't have any crummy paperbacks on the shelves. I still don't mind reading an ebook. I prefer it. So I've separated those two things. But like, if I'd never developed any love and care, it just wouldn't matter.
It's been a downward spiral, man, since they took the manuals out. Like, that was upsetting. As a lifelong old nerd, when the manuals first, what I hated first was the black and white manuals. You know, Genesis
I
did.
never saw those.
Oh, so Genesis did some of these black and white manuals, and I'm like, really? You couldn't spring for a nice glossy color? You have this like cheap, horrible black and white like computer paper you make your manuals out of.
I never had a Genesis, by the way. That's why I don't know much about it.
Well, yes. Eventually, they just got rid of manuals at all because it was like, well, the games have built-in tutorials now that
Sure.
teach you how to play it, so you don't need a manual to teach you how to play the game. Then why are we spending extra money, developing and organizing and formatting and printing these little booklets that have no value? But they did have value to people like me.
To people like
but
you.
but people like me don't matter anymore. That's what this is my no country for old men moment. I'm at the breakfast table, talking to my wife about the dreams of my father carrying the fire, and but I can't wake up. Now I'm just stuck in this nightmare of but because, by the way, surprising to no one, as we've been recording this, Microsoft has announced that their next console will be diskless, which I'm even surprised they're making another console. Like, I thought they were, going the route of Sega after the Dreamcast and just, folding. But yeah,
Well,
it's over. The discs are gone. And we didn't even mention Sony. So this is the other thing that's really important. Well, that was really important. It doesn't matter anymore about physical ownership of media, is that Sony the same week announced the deletion of 500 movies
yeah.
that from their library that people previously had thought that they purchased and owned and paid X amount of dollars for to buy it digitally. And now Sony lost the license to sell those movies, have deleted them, and now you can't even watch them. So they're just
After
it's
you've
just
paid.
it's
That's
like,
wild to me.
yeah, imagine going into the store and you buy a candy bar, you go home, you have your candy bar, and then like Charles M. Snickers shows up and rips it out of your hand and says like, no, you can't have this Snickers bar anymore. And you're like, but I bought it. And he says, well, I don't have the license to allow you to eat that Snickers bar anymore. So you're SOL, pal.
Yeah, it's a super interesting, it it's unfortunate to me that my timeline is full of this, you'll live in the pod, you won't own anything, kind of complaining over this movie thing, and all these people saying, you got to get physical media. Uh, the actual substance of the discussion is very poor, right? For something that is legitimately super interesting, where what do you actually own when it's not physical? Everything is physical, by the way. Literally everything is physical in some sense, even if it's data being stored. It's not a completely like fictional thing. Um, so there's something to discuss there. I don't see how it's possible that companies are going to get away with removing access to something you've purchased. If it's a subscription model to a library, okay, that library can change over time. Netflix does this all the time. This movie's only going to be here for another 2 weeks and then it's gone. Like, okay, whatever. That's it. I Netflix is essentially a gallery I walk into, and it's not going to be the same every time. And if at a point I'm not really pumped about what I see in the gallery, I stop going. I cancel.
Xbox tried to do this and it has sunk them. Game Pass has sunk them. It was video game Netflix
Right, right.
and it has ruined them. So this is what I'm so annoyed about. There's so many things I'm annoyed about with these decisions. It's like, are we going to learn anything from things like Game Pass? I guess not, because that's what everyone wants. That's what Nintendo wants. It's obviously what Sony wants. It's what Microsoft has wanted. but as far as I can tell, has been a colossal failure.
I do want to back up though, if you're okay with that,
Back it up.
because I want to switch to the therapy session I've been dreaming of since this news broke. I want to
Okay.
know how you feel about this having happened. You as a collector who has made, I mean, as long as I've really known you, like actually talked to you and known you, which at this point is nearly 20 years, video game stuff has been a major component to your life. Major, major. And it came to a close today.
It did. It
Like
did it in the
what
way that
you
I
loved about
enjoy
it
it.
has come
Yeah.
exactly how you do it. The door has been shut on that. It's not like games are done.
No, no,
But
no.
your version of games, seems to be kind of done. And I'm not trying to poke and prod and sort of I take no glee in this because I've been through this culturally a few different times, and it's weirdly harrowing to me. And I want to know what honestly what you're thinking and feeling about it.
Yeah, I will. It was, when I was thinking about it earlier today, the thing that I mentioned about how I finished my collections. I don't really buy old games anymore. I'm not like scouring eBay for things. So
Mhm.
that chapter of my interest has been closed for years now. I would say like the other chapter that opened up after that is what I mentioned earlier, where like I buy very few games new. And
Okay.
instead, I'm like kind of constantly keeping an eye on the price fluctuations of games that I'm interested in, but I don't want to pay 60s, even $50 for it. Like my threshold is pretty much like if a game is 19.99, even if my interest in it is like a 5 out of 10, I'll just buy it.
Mm.
Because it's worth it, for 20 bucks, it's a flyer to have it in my collection, which is of value to me. Like I like that even if the game kind of stinks, I like having it in my collection. That's a thing. That's a part of the enjoyment of the experience. The same as you collecting books. You got to read every single book behind you? No. Do you enjoy collecting them? Yes.
I'll tell you what though, and this is where the mana comes from, and why the physical stuff is important to me. I'm going to use my fingers, and it's hard for me because it's reversed and backwards. You see this line here of black
Yeah.
center. This is the Great Book series that there are 50 books in it, and Mortimer Adler edited this many, many, many decades ago. Put together like 50 of the most important books to read to be human, and it goes back to the beginning, and stops around like 1900 kind of. I bought this at a garage sale in Milwaukee for $100 in 2003, and then paid an additional however much to ship it back to my apartment in Boston because I was still in school. The ROI on that series of books over the years has been better than anybody who it would be the equivalent of like buying Bitcoin at $1. It really has been that good for my life and career. I reference I've referenced so many of those, not every one, but I can guarantee that every non-tech video that we've ever done together, I've cracked one of those books. Up on this side where my finger is right here, this is all medicine. This is all medical library stuff. There is right by my finger is the etiology of childbed fever, which is one of, if not the most important video that you ever made. Is about that story. There's a book on scurvy that was consulted. Uh, I can look at the shelves and go, I can talk about every single book on these shelves. That's important to me.
Hmm.
I don't have anybody to bother with that right now, right? But but I think it when I look at them. I think about all the stuff, and you see this as I'm selling books. If anybody follows me on Twitter, most of what I'm posting now is when I sell a book, I write a note to the person buying the book, and most of the time it's about the book itself. Sometimes it's about where the person lives, because I like when I recognize a town name of where I'm shipping it, and I can, recall an anecdote or something I know about that town. Um, the experience of that is fantastic to me. I sell a lot of firearms related books. And yesterday I shipped one. A guy bought it's called The Book of the Springfield. And it's the definitive volume on the 30-06 rifle and cartridge. Well, I like communicating with the guy and basically saying, "You just bought the definitive work on this. It's fantastic. It's worth reading more than once." Uh, that's not happening with an ebook. I'm never thinking it. I'm never communicating that with somebody else. They're not reading. I get messages on eBay from people about the notes that I write, because it makes them think about things. John Taylor uh, was an author of firearms books, and I sent one to a guy a month or so ago, uh, saying, you don't. I actually mentioned this on the podcast. People like John Taylor don't exist anymore. He was one of those larger than life, like you wouldn't believe his stories kind of person, even though it was all true. And I wrote this note saying, if you get a chance to talk to any of these old gun guys while they're still alive, you got to do it. You got to do it. And he wrote me a message saying, I'm familiar with John Taylor. I actually named my son John Taylor, whatever their last name is. That's how much he likes this author.
Wow.
Uh, Digital takes that away from us. Okay? It takes it away. The opportunity to have any kind of exchange with another person. That is not important when you're 20. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? It becomes more important as you begin to value those exchanges. Some people never do. They don't. And that's fine. I'm not judging somebody who doesn't care. But I'd like to have the option to have the exchange with things. You know, it's why I love going to auctions. Even when I'm not talking, I'm not a prodigious talker at these things. I do my own thing and stay quiet for the most part. But I am participating in the exchange of watching other people interact with items, literally deciding in real time how much they value it in a dollar amount compared to somebody else. And they are going back and forth deciding just how much they want it in a quantifiable sense. That is fascinating. It's a fascinating process to watch. Even eBay takes that away because I don't know what the hell's happening when somebody's bidding against me on eBay. I actually bought something 15 minutes ago. You didn't even know, did you, Lieber? Did you?
While we're recording, you
Yeah, yeah.
making
I
purchases?
got an autograph of a Red Sox player from the late 30s and early 40s. His name is Jim Tabor, and I got it for $5.50 some cents. Somebody else had bid $5. I don't know why they bid five. and not 6. I don't know why they bid at all. I will never know. I know why I did. I like collecting a baseball player from the team that I like the most who has the same name as me. Like, that's clear. But I have no idea what anybody else's relationship is to this item like I do in person. Sometimes I will go up to people and say, what you bought is really cool. I don't know anything about it, but I'm intrigued. Why'd you buy it? And people collect things. They buy to resell. They buy for gifts. There's always an interesting answer. What are you going to do? What are the interactions with digital games?
Well,
what are Discord and talk about them?
What are the video game conventions with digital games? Like, I mean, talk about a thing for like socially awkward gamers to get out of their shell at. These too many games just happened like last week. And all these other PAX Easts and Wests and this, that, and the other thing. That's not a thing. You don't have to, set up a booth to sell, your digital PS6 games, because that's not a thing. What are you going to sell? Hard drives?
I want to hit a comment or two and then ask you another question, because there's a big component to this that we haven't touched on that you need to opine on. Okay. But Make an Industry says, I bought the physical copies of the Andrew Loomis art books because I learned to draw with PDFs of those, and holding them and reading them is a complete different experience. That's real. That's real. One of my favorite books, I sent you a picture of this the other day, and I've talked about it too many times. I actually didn't know that I owned this, which is the problem you were talking about.
It's your Umberto Eco problem.
It was an oversight. It was an oversight years ago. But I have a signed, sealed copy of John Updike's Rabbit Run, which is a book I talk about a lot, that I actually don't love this precisely because it's sealed. I cannot open it up and look at the signed page. It might as well not exist. This is my problem with graded comics.
Yeah.
Is that once you encapsulate it, you will never be able to read it. Graded cards, it doesn't matter to me because you get to see the front and the back. You're losing nothing. There's no extra thrill to me to feel the cardboard. But with sealed books, I sell most of the sealed books that I acquire for that reason.
I've done the same thing with video games. If I have,
have you?
Yes. I don't think I own very few sealed video games at this point. So at one point, I bought a sealed copy of Samurai Western, which is a very rare PS2 game.
Okay.
So a sealed copy of it is that much more rare. I sold the sealed copy so that I could buy an opened copy so that I could actually play it, because I wasn't going to crack the seal on the sealed one. Like, that's crazy. You got to keep it sealed for preservation's sake. But I didn't want it. I literally didn't want it. So I just sold it and then bought an open copy.
That seal is a force field that contains the mana that you value.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
That's really what same with this book.
Yeah. It's a shield.
I don't know if you saw on Twitter, if you noticed, I sold a bunch of sealed old baseball cards. Mm-hmm. Wax boxes from the late 80s and early 90s. A lot of people love collecting sealed wax. I don't, precisely because I cannot enjoy or look at any of the cards inside. I don't get the thrill out of that. The mana is unknown and contained. That's its own thing. It's just not for me. But what I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned the gaming conventions, what is going to happen to physical buying, to the GameStops, to the huge aisle in the huge section in the Walmart Supercenter? the whole game store. What happens now?
Well, Walmart and Target, they've been downsizing, Best Buy, they've been downsizing their physical media for a really, 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 really long time. So, like, I'm not super worried about those. Just, they'll just, downsize into nothingness, I'm sure, over the next few years. GameStop, I don't know. I mean, they have been like trying to pivot towards like plushies and Funko Pops for like a decade now. But
They do a lot of card stuff now. They do a
maybe
lot of
that's what
card
they'll
stuff.
do. Card stuff is very popular. Maybe that's the type. I mean, game could mean tabletop game. Maybe GameStop becomes primarily a tabletop gaming franchise. I don't know.
85% of eBay's revenue comes from the collectibles category.
I believe that.
85%.
I believe that.
And when you think about the sheer number of things for sale on eBay, having 85% of its money coming out of, increasingly uh, Pokemon style card games, that's huge. And so recently with, GameStop and eBay, the acquisition thing that came out that got rebuffed, there's looking, to be a possible combination of those two things. But you're called GameStop because you do games. And now the games are taken away.
Well, like I said, tabletop games are a type of game. So you could just sell Warhammer and I don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic cards and maybe still survive. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of them close. I don't even know at this point like what percentage of look, if barely anyone is buying physical games, then what percentage of their business in the last 5 years has even been selling physical games? I don't know. And
Let
what
me ask.
percentage of it is like selling toys that have a better margin or something? It's like a restaurant that has a bar, and selling booze at the bar actually is where they make their money and stay in business, and they can still sell some food and still be a restaurant. Maybe that's what GameStop is. I don't know. The food is physical video games and the booze is Funko Pops and like amiibos. I have no idea, but that's possible.
This is a little to me like if, let's say, a pill was invented that instantly got you. The younger set is going to be horrified by this number because I want to say 8 or 10 beers deep.
Oof.
That would, to me, that's a good deep. That's okay.
That's a lot to me.
It's a lot, but I mean, it's not like you're going to be like vomiting in the bathroom, but you're, in an altered state.
Depends on the beer. Are we talking like Bud Lights? Then fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is swilling beer.
Okay.
You are heavy buzz, but there's no problem happening anywhere.
Yeah.
You take this pill, you swallow it, 60 seconds later, you have that state. What changes in a bar? What if everybody comes to the bar and takes this pill, what does a bar become? Because you aren't buying drinks, you aren't interacting with a bartender, you aren't slowly going through your drinking journey that evening with your friends or your date or whatever. I don't recommend the 10 beers on a date, by the way. This is not good for either party. Okay. But you're going out with the boys, going to watch the 49ers on a Sunday. You might have a few pitchers. Yeah. It would fundamentally alter what happens in a bar.
It removes the liturgical experiential element of the activity.
It removes everything. Well, like 98% of it. Because you realize the state that you wind up in is not the actual point.
No, it's things like who's getting the next round.
Yeah.
I'll get the next round. What do you want? Yeah, whatever. Like it's all those parts of it make up the thing.
It's all the conversation that's happening over that 2-3 hours where it might start out stiff and serious, but then loosens up, and then somebody just says something completely ridiculous, maybe they say something that they really should have just kept in their head and never told a soul, and hilarity ensues.
Yeah, I could think of a moment of that.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot of that. And all of that's gone if you have this magic buzz pill. Uh, well, new things have to happen because there actually are magic buzz pills of different sorts at other venues. And there's a reason why, like, raves in the 90s were not like going to a concert, even though it was a lot of people with music. It was a fundamentally different experience, right?
mhm.
Uh, so these things change completely. And along the way, you have to decide how much you value these components. What are you going to do now? Like, how are
Yeah.
you going to proceed? You, Kevin Lieber, how are you going to proceed in video games?
Well, so like I said earlier, my new sort of interest in the hobby was buying like a few new games a year, and then a solid handful of really cheap ones on sale. I think that those cheap ones on sale, my interest in those is just gone. I don't see why I would ever buy a game because it was on sale. I would get nothing out of owning it anymore. I would only, because the point is there are a lot of games that I own and I'm happy to own that I haven't played. And like maybe I'll play them someday. Maybe I won't. And that really doesn't diminish my like enjoyment of owning it. It really doesn't. I like the idea that at some point I could pop it in and try it out, but if I never get around to it, I'm not going to be on my deathbed being like, oh, why did I never play Arc Fantasia? If only I could go back in time and play that game on the Wii. Like it'll be okay, but having it on the shelf is pretty neat. I'll give you an example. So there's a, and this is another problem that I have with this whole thing. Okay. Uh, there are these two games on the Nintendo GameCube, two JRPGs. One is called Baton Kaitos and the Endless Ocean or something like that. The other one is Baton Kaitos Origins. So they remastered these games. This is a great thing. This is very exciting. This is like a pretty relatively new thing in the gaming industry is like a lot of games get remastered, old games, and games that you never would think would get remastered, like Baton Kaitos. They remastered Baton Kaitos one and two, and you could get it on the Switch. Like, what? That's awesome. Well, they removed the English dub. You can't listen to the English dub in the remastered. It's gone. It doesn't exist. You can't download it as a patch or DLC or anything like that. It's gone.
Why? Why? Do you know why?
The reasons, there were a couple of reasons given. One is that it's just bad, but
Okay.
that's part of the charm to me. That's like actually a huge part of the charm to me to play this old game is like this terrible voice acting. The other reason is, what's the word for it? Like the changing times, like some of the things, some of the lines of dialogue in the game are like not really acceptable anymore.
It's been woked up.
It's a little offensive due
It's
to modern sensibilities.
Did you see what Maria said in the chat along, like, right at the beginning, about a book? Um, uh, s- Six of Crows was the title, something like that. Yeah, Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo, which is not an old book. It's like 10 years old. Apparently, it's been altered in new versions to make the characters seem like vaguely young adult, as opposed to, I think they were originally like actually very young, but it's been sort of, you know uh they've made it to appeal more to older readers, to like proper young adult. What a strange thing that is, because that's not even like, oh, we're really embarrassed by this line in an old bit of dialogue. We can't do that. Uh, I don't know this book. I don't know this book at all, but that was strangely harrowing to me that it would be changed for that reason. That's like a sheer market play.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, that's something that does bother me with all of this stuff is the ability then for things to be censored, things to be changed, and then you can never play the original version of it, which again, I know is like a tiny, tiny percentage of people want to bother with that. I'm one of them, so bully for me. I don't get to do that anymore. But like I literally, so I've owned Batten Kaitos on GameCube. This is my point for I don't know, 15 years or something. I've had this game on my shelf for like 15 years. I never played it. I never even put it in the GameCube. I never booted it up, nothing, just collecting dust. And the amount of times I've moved over the years and stuck that game in a
Mm.
box and carried it someplace else and unloaded it and unpacked it and put it on another shelf in another city at another time in my life over and over and over again. Like a month ago, it was time. It just was time. I was like, you know what? Time for Batten Kaitos. And I took it out. I put it in my GameCube and I played it. I played the whole thing.
Did
And
you
I played
like it?
Yeah, it was great.
Oh,
I loved
good.
it. I stopped playing.
Good.
There was some new game that came out that I stopped playing because I was bored of it. And instead, I play this GameCube game from 2004 or whatever, warts and all, and horrible voice acting that sounds like all of the actors are like literally speaking into a tin can. The amount of compression, it's absolutely crazy. And let me tell you, I don't even know what they censored. Like I played this whole game. There was like an
Mm.
awkward fat lady joke at one point where you like see this really big dress and the character's like, "Whoa, look at how big this dress is. I don't even want to know who, wears this honking big fat lady dress." Like maybe that is what was offensive and they changed. I have no idea, but it wasn't like, well, obviously, the
It wasn't N
10,000
words
like
every 7 seconds.
it wasn't not only that, it wasn't even like much, that's obviously, 5 alarm version of this. I didn't even see one alarm version of it. Yet it was still censored to some degree by someone for some reason. And like 42-year-old man can't is like, thank you for saving me. Thank you for saving me, 42-year-old man, from like whatever was so harrowing and like life altering and triggering in 2004. Uh, Nintendo. Like that kind of thing also just drives me crazy. That like the nannying of that sort of thing. Like I don't need you to tell me like what can be exposed to.
Can I speed run the movies that I watched, because there's a tie-in here. I've
Yes.
been watching movies. One of them was Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood and Mario Van Peebles.
I haven't seen it.
It's okay. You won't regret watching it, but it's not a classic.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's got that. It's like watching the Bad News Bears, where the things that people say is like in Bad News Bears is the kids saying it, which is what makes it really notable. But it's Heartbreak Ridge is military movie in the 80s, set in like 83, and it's Marines, and so there's a lot of things that would be deemed very strongly homophobic in the jokes and the comments, and it's army guys 40 plus years ago, military, not art, but you get what I mean. You know the types of things that are happening in the dialogue in this film.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh yeah, nobody ever talks about this film. I never see it anywhere. It was on Tubi, so I'm like, oh, I remember this. I haven't seen it since the 90s. I'll watch it. That one's going in the memory hole. Yeah, there's no question that film is going down the memory hole. The other one I watched was Krull, because I hadn't seen it in some time, and us talking about it. The famous Liam Neeson movie Krull.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
There are actually a lot of guys in there who have had excellent careers. Um, Alan Armstrong is in has been in a lot of UK things I've watched. He was the guy who's like becomes the like second in charge at the end of the film, like the
Mhm.
protector of whatever. And Robbie Coltrane
Oh, yeah.
uh, is in the film as well.
Hagrid.
Um, yeah, he's done just a ton of work over the years in the UK stuff. It was cool to see those good faces, but yeah, it's horrible. The treatment of the glaive is insanity. I did not remember how the opening 5 minutes of the film is just about the glaive. It's just about what the glaive is and how important it is. And then the glaive not only gets barely used, but when it is, it's like a really low quality circular saw that is the most underwhelming use of a weapon I have ever seen in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
truly can't
the
believe it.
sword fighting is more interesting with the lightning
Oh yeah,
sparks and stuff like that than the glaive. Yeah, the glaive
way better.
stinks, and it's the whole
It's
kind of point of the movie, and it stinks.
like imagine if you just did all of Star Wars and replaced every lightsaber with a pool noodle.
Yeah.
They just slapped each other with them. And it'd be like, oh, this is stupid. But the third one was The Man in the Iron Mask. Did you ever watch that back in the day?
I never have seen that, no.
The cast is bonkers in terms of talent. Yeah, John Malkovich, Leonardo DiCaprio is the king, and also the king's twin. you know, Peter Skarsgård is in it. I mean, it's just stacked to the max. Gerard Depardieu and his nose, his sort of Reeve from Nothing But Trouble nose is in that film, but it's done like a stage play. The acting is similar to what you would see in a stage play, and it's tempting to watch that and say this is so over the top stiff that this is dumb, but it's amazing. It's amazing. It's an exceptional film, in part because it's based on an exceptional book. Alexander Dumas certainly earned his reputation over the centuries precisely because his stuff was good, all the Musketeers work, etc. So they had good source material. But it's been so long since I've seen a film done in this style. And I thought, this is just better than anything I've watched in a very, very long time. And it's nothing like anything that comes out now. Now, it would get panned by somebody with an expectation of realism in mannerisms and behavior and all of that, in speech. I can see young people watching this and just thinking, this is archaic and goofy, but it's what makes it amazing. Um, yeah, I just wanted to throw the movie stuff out because I've been taking the Lieber cues of trying to watch these things while I still can. Um, but I'm, taken by the review bra tweet or his video,
His new video, yeah.
his new video that isn't the title like, is there anything in the world that's not getting worse?
I think so, yeah, yeah, which is obviously is pointed at, fast food and,
Fast food. Yeah.
fast casual,
Yeah.
dining, but, I don't know, man. It seems annoying to complain about this, but, I don't know how not to. I don't know how you look at the state of, like, movies. I don't know how you look at the state of, gaming, and just not think, "Yeah, it is just getting worse."
I'm of two minds on this. because to do it in fast food terms, I texted this to you or Twitter DM'd you last night about
Oh,
this.
the season of nuggets.
It is a time for nuggeting.
A time for nuggeting.
It's a time for nuggeting. The McDonald's app has 20-piece nuggets. You can redeem this once a day for 30% off through August. And that cuts the price to, I think, $5.31 for me. Now, $5 for 20 nuggets is good. 20 years ago, the equivalent price would have been half that. Prices have basically doubled due to inflation in about 20 some years. So, if you talked about the days of $2.50 20-piece nuggets 20 years ago, well, that's what's happening right now. That's a fantastic deal. And McDonald's nuggets are great. They're really good. And they're not even that bad for you nutrition wise. You should look at the label if you dispute that. They're pretty solid. That's a good thing in the fast food world, that you can still get a really good item for $5. That's cool. A lot of stuff is accessible in a way it never was. It's cheaper than it ever was. The quality is so much better most of the time, even on the crummy stuff. So like everybody buys seemingly like randomly generated named items from Amazon. And you know what? They're not garbage anymore like the cheap Chinese stuff was 20 years ago. It's not the same level. I'm not saying it's exceptional, but you can read reviews and see how it actually functions. Thousands of people will say, you know what? This is really great for the money. 4.7. Like, that's cool. That's awesome. I can have it on my porch the next day most of the time. This is incredible. A lot of things are incredible. Medicine is shocking. The developments in medicine are absolutely shocking compared to a couple decades ago. I say frequently that what was, we were talking about this in the Discord a few weeks ago, talking about HIV and AIDS in the 80s and 90s versus now. And that was a literal death sentence at diagnosis. Not very long ago. Now I watch the Bills on any Sunday, and they're competing advertisements for pills that make the virus undetectable. And they're competing against each other, Biktarvy and I don't know what else. This is miraculous compared to 20 years ago. A lot of stuff is getting better very fast. AI stuff is getting better very fast. Compared to 6 months ago, I can take a picture of an item that I don't know and say, tell me everything you can about this. And it will identify it, give me the market price, show me completed sold listings of an item, show me active asking prices of the item for something I did not even know what it was when I sent the picture. 6 months ago, I couldn't do that very well. The results just weren't that good. Now they're excellent. I've been indexing my books by taking photos of the shelves. ChatGPT, make me a list of the titles, the authors, and the edition of this volume. And it hasn't made a mistake yet. That would have taken me hours to manually do that in the past. So many things I've put off by being a loser and like that I should have done for like 10 years now are super simple and fast and easy. Life is amazing. Anybody who tells you it's not is completely wrong. At the same time, Review Bra is right. It seems like everything is getting worse very quickly. This phenomenon is hard for me to reconcile because I know things are getting better. But then I'll watch new movies and say, This blows. This blows compared to The Man in the Iron Mask. This isn't even raw and funny like Heartbreak Ridge. You know, I can't do this much with gaming. Um, but everything else, I know it's getting better, but it feels like it's getting worse.
Well,
That is a weird phenomenon.
in entertainment specifically, I have a huge problem with a small number of companies leasing things to you that they also can alter. So it's like, oh yeah, we'll lease, Father Ted to you, but you don't get to watch all those episodes because one of them we've deemed problematic. And so you don't get to see that one. And I'm like, well, I'm in it, like I said before, like I'm a grown man. Like I'm pretty sure that like a comedy from 30 years ago, I can probably tolerate the jokes and, not set my hair on fire. But you get to decide that,
You get
not
to
me. I don't get to make that decision. You are making the decision for me. So now I am like compelled to play by whatever rules that you deem are the rules of the game. And like I don't have a say anymore. And like that's what, one of the many things that bothers me with this gaming thing. It's like I don't, I guess we don't have a say anymore.
That's a really important distinction. It's a really important distinction. And there are some comments speaking to this. I've been popping them on screen that are really good. That, it is good that you can just ignore the garbage and find, niche stuff, the precise things you like, or you have access to quality. I don't have to search hard to watch The Man in the Iron Mask. I literally load up a free service on Tubi on my TV and have it on demand. I don't have to watch slop. Uh, but this other comment, it's getting more convenient and more optimized, which is not the same as better. That's an important distinction. Uh,
That is
and
an important distinction. Yeah.
we're
Because you
actually
could say
doing a
that
great job with
with
that.
the gaming, you could say, oh, it's so much more convenient to just download the game. You
It
can get it
is.
as soon as they flick it live. You can download it right away, high speed internet, play it right away, whatever. That's so much better, isn't it? And it's like, well, I think it's more complicated than that.
I feel like we're in the streamlined and optimized stage of everything right now. And once that has made really the best progress it can, the focus will be again on quality. I think there's a slider here where you have optimization, streamlining, accessibility on one side, and then you have quality on the other. And the slider goes back and forth depending on the time and the tech and what people value. And right now, there's no question that this announcement from Microsoft that happened as we've talked, Sony, that's streamlined and optimized in an incredible way.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
It's
You're
awesome.
removing variables for them and for you.
There's no question. But it's a slider, and you can't have the slider at both ends. You this is the what is that? The freelancing saying where it's like you can have it cheap and fast, or you can have it done really well, but you can't have it done cheap and fast and perfect. Like you
Right.
got to choose.
There are many versions of this little triangle of needs or whatever, and you get to pick two.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that feels like the situation, and we have to live with that. What do you think as what your role is in this whole thing as appreciator, collector, long lifetimer on it? What do people do? Like, what can you do other than just accept that the decisions are being made for you?
it's so hard to me in this instance because it's so different than, from what I can tell, it's so different than other analogs to this situation because, like, for example, my friend Justin Savakis, who has a company that makes Blu-rays of kind of forgotten anime, okay, he's able to do that. Like, he has the ability to, you know, remaster, compile, make the discs, make the packaging, send them out, and then people can watch these Blu-rays on Blu-ray DVD players, on PS4s and PS5s, or whatever. Like, there's a market that's like kind of ubiquitous in terms of like a niche hobby part of it. If like physical gaming is completely removed from the equation, from the gatekeepers, you can't have like a niche. There's How do you satisfy the niche market anymore other than just the same old PS2 and PS3 and PS4 and Xbox 360 and Nintendo GameCube games forever? Like that market, that little slice of time can't carry the whole industry or industry, can't carry the hobby for very long. I don't see how. I don't see how. And then there's no alternative moving forward for what I actually see this as a boon to Nintendo, which is so freaking ironic. Is that like Nintendo is who everyone was freaking out about, basically getting rid of physical, and now a year and a half from now, it seems like they're the only ones who will have physical games on an object.
Have
It's
have they won the lottery by
Dude,
doing that? Like, never bother your enemies as they're making a mistake, kind of
absolutely.
thing.
Like they must be, yeah, like doing the happy dance right now because they upset the hardcores and now they're going to be like the bastion for the hardcores. They're going to be like the oasis in the desert for people to flock to. It's like this is the only game in town now if you want to be a collector is Nintendo, because the other stuff, yeah, um it'll just be over. So I don't know, like the one thing that, just to bring it back, to make it about me, is getting into reading the past couple of years has diminished my, like, putting all of my eggs in the gaming basket, and I could see myself just going more into that moving
Hmm.
forward, just getting more into collecting books and learning about new authors and different series and getting physical books, and like maybe I'll just do that and play like a few games a year that I'm like really desperate to play, but other than that, not even really think about it the way I used to.
Do you have an interest in buying 600 to 700 leather bound books to start your book collection?
I don't think so.
um, yeah, this is a fantastic opportunity to me for people to decide what they actually like, what they value, and then take advantage of that streamlining and accessibility to pursue that thing. Like, this is the absolute, like, whatever is beyond golden age for books, because anything you want to read is available for pennies.
For now, like I could see the same thing happening that happened with like the retro gaming market, where like right now might be right. It might be because they're not making. I read a thing that they're getting rid of market paperbacks. Did I
Oh,
make did I make that up?
I
So
don't. I
like,
haven't seen about getting rid of it, but there are a lot of challenges to book publishing. Like the logistics, that books stink. They're the worst. Guessing at how many to print, the shipping, the storage, all of that. They stink. Um, I can, there are changes to mass market paperbacks, to that, like, to that overall market, that are definitely happening. Do publishers? I mean, publishers want what's going to make a buck. This is driven entirely by consumers. Um, I know digital is good. The guy who runs Macmillan, did I send you that interview that he did where he explained the breakdown between hardcover, paperback, and now digital, and kind of what they like to do and why. Um, but I mean, there's so many books in the world. There are bajillions. Everybody's got them. It's going to be a really long time before those are where the demand outpaces the supply. Books sell really slowly, even at highly competitive pricing. You know, I've fire sailed some books, and it's the slowest burning fire in the world. It just takes months and months. Whereas, if I want to sell baseball cards, I can put a dollar under the cheapest option, and within an hour, it's sold. Uh, it's going to take a long time before books are expensive. But right now, any book that you'd want to read is pretty much available for the cost of shipping. It's a used copy of something is $1 plus $4 media mail shipping on eBay. That's incredible. That's incredible.
I
And
don't know if
so
it's that cheap. I mean, I just bought some smelly David Gemmell books.
those are kind of niche, though. I mean, so when I say I have to denigrate you to give this answer, books that normal people want to read, which is not you and it's not me. So like baseball books, gun books, medical books. These are specialized, and they're not. They didn't print a million copies of them. But I'll tell you what sold instantly when I listed it was a box set of Percy Jackson books. That was up for like 12 minutes, and somebody bought it for, I don't know, it was like $15. You know, Um, Pivot Guy says niche books can go for a lot. Yeah, I mean that's why I like gun books. That's why I collect them. They're kind of rare and interesting, the ones that I collect. Um, but most people don't want to read. Is it Gemmel with a hard G or is it Gemmel? I don't know.
Who knows? I say
Yeah,
Gemmell.
yeah. Most people want to read. The five people you meet in heaven.
Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher. Yeah, which is why Lee Child has sold 100 million copies.
You could probably get Jack Reacher books for $1.
Yeah, it's fill a bag. It's fill a bag. It's when you go to Goodwill or Salvation Army. It's all that stuff on the shelves, all those paperbacks.
Danielle
That's what
Steele.
Danielle Steele. That's what 99% of people want to read. Um, and there are a lot of good books. I'm not saying Danielle
Now,
Steele
what
is, but there are a lot of good
99%
books.
of people want to read is nothing.
That's a different podcast topic. But almost everybody will be able to find the stuff they want at ridiculously low prices. Cheaper than a 20-piece nugget, even on sale.
It's like imagine a hamburger, but with you, it's imagine McNuggets.
That's a good thing that's available. You have the opportunity to channel your interests. Well, if digital games have destroyed it for you, you got to do something else. You got to do something else. And all those things are way, way easier and cheaper than they used to be. Books, even the rare books, by the way, are much cheaper than they used to be. You wouldn't believe the prices that are written in pencil on the inside covers of many of the books that I buy, because that was the price that the person paid at a bookshop, at an antiquarian flea market kind of thing. Books that were $75 25 years ago are now $25. Everything in the book realm is way better than it ever was.
Yeah. Well, that's probably what I'll end up doing. The last thing I want to hammer home though, but again, this is like a me problem, but like a hyper nerd problem. has to do with the preservation element of these games, where um, there's is never going to be all of the games will never be available. They're closing down the PS3 store and the Vita store this week as well. So
Food for dogs.
oh,
Food for
she's
dogs.
yeah, that's she probably has all those games downloaded by now anyway. But there are a lot of games actually on the PS3 and the Vita store that you can't get on like the PS4 or the PS5. So that's like another step between of like video game preservation that's being lost. And like obviously there were only so many games that were available digitally on those stores versus what you could own physically, in your own library, which was obviously all of them. So then you go from like all of them down to this store, and then now this store is gone, and now you go down to like this PlayStation subscription thing, PS Now or whatever it's called, PS1 Classics, and it's like 12 games. So it's like this funnel of inaccessibility essentially that just gets thinner and thinner. Does that matter for games up until now? No, because they were available physically, and there are plenty of collectors who own them physically, and you can still play. What was the Burnout Revenge or whatever on Smiling Friends? Drink a
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper and play Burnout Revenge on PS2. But moving forward, that's gone. That's gone. Like the PS6 games, whatever, that era, well, that won't be a thing. Like it will not be a thing where when PS9 is out, you can own and still play a whole bunch of PS6 games that aren't available digitally anymore because all of the stores close. They don't keep these old digital storefronts open forever. And then the amount of stuff that they bring over to the new ones is less and less and less as you become less and less and less of a market for them, as that gets diminished because you're weird like me, and in 2026 you'll play Baten Kaitos for the first time, you know. So it's just sucks to be the type of guy who was interested in this hobby. So well, to find something else to do, pal.
Well, when all of this broke, I honestly I feel for the position that you're in, um, because what I've really come to understand is that people who like old things at a young age have to deal with this much sooner than everybody else. Being 75 and seeing things that you love kind of filter out of culture isn't isn't the worst, right? It's happened for a long time. I remember talking to my mom a lot about this. Is that you kind of get used to it with the passage of time. If you like something uh, that gets yanked away from you in your 20s, 30s, even around 40, it stings. It stings. And when you like a lot of old things, they go at a much faster pace than if you were, you know, in the current all the time, right? It just hits. It's like it's terrible. Um, and it adds up, and you do get that review brow sensation that's like, what is the point? What is the point now? Everything blows.
Yeah, I
In this hit, and I'm like,
specifically
this
with
has to hurt.
with I'll just give you a very specific example with GTA 6, which was going to be what this podcast was about. Them announcing no disc for that game, and then today the news broke that it's just no discs ever again, is what it turned into. But specifically with GTA 6, like I am not a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. I like the games, not a huge fan. So I buy them on sale, and they print a gabillion copies of GTA. So, after a couple of years, they're, coasters basically. So you can get them for dirt cheap. That's when I'll play a GTA game. With this new one, it's been so long since they made one. It looks awesome. There's so much hype around it that I was like, I'll get it. I'll buy it day one. $70, $80, whatever. It's going to be like amazing. They spent a $10 billion on this game.
A lot
I
of
want to.
years.
I want to be part of. Like sort of the early communal hype
Yeah.
around playing
Yeah.
it. When they announced it was a code in the box, I was like, "What?" Yeah, like as ridiculous as this must sound to most people probably listening to this podcast, I was like, I guess I'll just wait. I guess I just won't get it. Like literally, it went from I'm buying this, I'll pre-order this thing to get it right away to I guess I'll get it someday, maybe if it's on sale. I don't know. Like it totally killed my interest in it and hype for it. Just not having the disc in the box. I was like, it went from buying day one to I don't even know if I want to play this. Until if it was like $20, then yeah. But like $80 for a code in a box? Really?
That does seem like it stings to me to spend that level of money on on a code. Things that are cheap to me, if it's a code and it's digital and whatever, I don't have a problem with that. Um, I never had a I never had a problem not owning a physical copy of World of Warcraft. That was an interesting time when the new ones would come out because downloading files that large could take an incredibly long time.
And physical PC games like that was phased out like 30 years ago for the most part. Like that really
Yeah,
hasn't been a thing.
yeah, yeah.
Which I think
Uh,
is another reason why there are plenty of people who are like, "Why are you upset about this?" Like
they're
you are
used
a
to it.
loser, actually. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You are a loser.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
Review
literally.
Bra is a loser for expecting like innovation and improvement in fast food. I'm a loser for wanting, a new set of cards. I'm down to one set that I like each year, and that one I didn't even do the purchase for because they kind of nerfed the quality but kept the price the same.
Ugh,
Uh, we're losers on this,
yeah.
and we respond somehow. I mean, it got me that much deeper into vintage things that are most people don't care about. Mikhail's Navy cards. You know,
Jeez.
but we. By the way, I just tweeted that thing I sent you of the guy saying that he now says that capitalism is what forces him to buy baseball cards.
Capitalism forces him to buy baseball cards. How does that work?
He put up a definition of capitalism, screenshotted to prove this, that the capitalist system drives spending. It 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 doesn't. It incentivizes making things that people want to spend on. A grown man has no self-control to not buy baseball cards. Like I'm wearing a baseball card shirt right now. You can see boxes behind me with graded cards where my thumb is wiggling. I have It's harrowing how many I have. I'm not an enemy here, right?
A victim. You're
Well,
He's the victim. You're a
and
victim of capitalism.
this is one of the stupidest things that I have ever seen anybody say. Even when people say that like casinos are unethical because they're putting something out that has an addictive capacity
Mm-hmm.
in gambling.
Right.
I reject that, but they're also not wrong.
Yeah, there's truth in that.
That's absolutely true. But I've never seen somebody make the case that they are forced to buy baseball cards because of capitalism. And this is, I'm so bleeping done with collecting. I want to enjoy stuff, not just buy it and manage it. And boy, do we get driven into spending money until we're more and more under the control of the rich. I don't want to bleed myself dry to keep buying trinkets. You are the problem here. This is not a capitalism problem, and it is not a Topps baseball card problem. You are bad at living. You're making errors. He instantly blocked me when I pointed out or suggested that, maybe it's on him. But then kept going. I guess he like must have briefly unblocked me or something, because I can see the capitalism thing. Capitalism is the machine that drives us to spend. Anybody who says nobody is making you, that was me, is an idiot or a liar.
Wow. All right. So
Capitalism is making him
is
buy
making
baseball
him.
cards.
Right. It is making him. And you're lying saying that it's not. It's making him. Yeah.
Maybe I'm the idiot. Maybe I'm not a liar. Maybe I'm the idiot instead. Yeah. Who's dumber? Me or the guy who thinks the world is forcing him at gunpoint to rip packs of cards at the expense of his wife and child?
To buy little rectangles of paper with baseball players on them.
Yeah, we have some problems in collecting.
Just leave it at we have some problems.
We have
We have some problems. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what'll happen with this game disc thing. I guess it's just over. I don't know if people will, make enough of a stink to give nerds an option, but they started doing this years ago with the special editions. They would put out these like Sony would put out these like $200 or whatever, $250 special editions of games.
Yeah.
That did not come with a game. Okay.
Was it like a book or?
It would be trinkets. It's like a little statuette and
Loot crates?
a book and little loot crates. Yeah, a pair of socks and a keychain. And for a video game and no video game.
Don't buy it. Don't buy it. That's the solution here. This actually applies to the digital video. If you don't want to participate in this, and I'm so glad that you said that a few times.
I didn't buy it.
I don't buy this stuff because I don't value it.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want that. I don't want your statue and your socks and your keychain. I would like the game.
Don't do it. You have the power not to do this. You have the power to read a book. You have the power not to buy a box of baseball cards and instead buy something else. Like, this is nobody else's. It stinks. It stinks that Allen and Ginter cards this year only have 2 autographs in the hobby box instead of 3, yet they kept the price the same. Autographs or relics. That stinks. But I'm not forced to buy it and then complain on Twitter. I chose not to buy this year. And I bought something else. You were reading books and buying weird sci-fi.
Buying smelly David Gemmell books that I have to keep in the freezer for a week to kill the potential bugs living inside. Yes. This is my freaking problem with the old books, man, is it's just like, what is this going to be like when it shows up in shipped to me in like a literal Lean Cuisine box?
Oh, that was the same thing?
Yeah.
I didn't realize. Oh, I hope you leave some feedback that isn't great. Not negative feedback necessarily. That's up to you. But on the sub ratings for shipping and stuff like that, and on item description, I would not give that 5 stars.
I've been avoiding it completely. I haven't left any feedback at all.
Yeah. Well, it's a tremendous age of empowerment, is my point. That everybody can take this opportunity to pursue something that doesn't blow.
Hey, that'll be the next podcast, though, is what doesn't blow. That because
I
that
literally, if you want to do that, I am happy to think about it for the next week, because that's a big question.
it is. It's this, yeah. Because on one hand, it's like vote with your dollar, and it's like, okay, where does that dollar go that I'm happy with where it went? I don't know.
Under the mattress for a rainy day. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do, is nothing. It really is. I'm not as jazzed about, well, I don't have the liquidity to hyper collect like I used to. And so I'll get the odd thing, like a you know, $5 signed thing that comes up very rarely because it's a nobody in baseball. Uh, but you don't have to do things you don't want to do. You kind of don't. You don't have to buy digital games. You don't have to buy baseball cards. Take a little time. Go back and play the back catalog.
Yeah,
Appreciate something old.
go play Batten Kaitos with the original horrible sub. Well, I think we can talk more about what doesn't blow. Old Barflug
Yeah.
Nargan mentions horror movies. That's a good one. A thing also that's good right now is indie gaming that I failed to mention earlier. So if anybody is 2.5 hours in and they're mad I didn't mention that indie gaming is amazing in a way that it wasn't 15 years ago, that's definitely
Death Inc.
true.
Death Inc. Eggy. A lot of people who are on the timeline are, making their own little games. It's
Uh,
cool,
Yeah, the AVGN Cinemassacre, they are publishing
right?
games. What's his name? Donkey has a game publishing thing, and I played Animal Forest, whatever it's called. I don't remember. I did play it, beat, and quite like that game. Now I can't remember what it's called. But you know how I could find out is look at my shelf, the physical copy that I have on my shelf, and I can look at it. Animal Well, yes, thank you very much. Animal Well. Cool game. Cool indie game. So yes, play more of those, I guess. But I don't know. It's grim out there for a millennial boomer video game collector. The sun has set on a lifestyle, and maybe it's time to do something better. Whatever that may be, I don't know. Time to find out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the future holds. But yeah, maybe we'll do things that don't blow next week. And in the meantime,
It'll be our
try to figure out.
first
Yeah,
5 minute episode.
yeah, it'll be a short one. All right, we'll see you then. Thank you to everyone who hung out with us during this live stream. Very nice crowd. Thank you for the comments and the feedback as well. And thank you to our patrons for supporting the Create Unknown. You can do that over on Patreon if you so choose. We'll see you next weekend, and we'll see